So today, I am very pleased to announce that we have developed an action plan for labor rights in Colombia, consistent with our values and interests, but more importantly, consistent with President Santos's vision of a just and equitable society inside of Colombia, and we believe that this serves as a basis for us moving forward on a U.S.-Colombia free trade agreement.
El plan de acción laboral no se cumple en Colombia.
No se ha cumplido.
No se ha cumplido plenamente.
No se cumplen para nada en Colombia.
Y la pregunta es, ¿por qué el gobierno Obama no ha implementado y no ha hecho cumplir los tratados que ellos dos firmaron, el señor Obama y Santos?
The U.S.-Colombia Labor Action Plan arrives in a context of over 2 decades of neoliberal economic reforms that have been opening Colombia's markets to foreign capital at the same time that the country has been embroiled in the longest-running internal armed conflict in the Western Hemisphere. Global market demand for natural resources and a cheap labor supply, interplaying with violence in Colombia that has displaced 5 million people, or over 10% of the population, is central to the issues that labor leaders in Colombia currently face.
Si vemos durante los últimos años, si hablamos más o menos desde los años 90 para acá, el país ha sido preparado para que las multinacionales puedan llegar a Colombia, explotar los recursos naturales, sacarlos a través del terror y enriquecerse más a costa de la población, a costa del maltrato a los trabajadores y del empobrecimiento generalizado. En los años 90 comenzamos en firme todo lo que es el modelo neoliberal, porque en últimas tanto los gobiernos como los estados como las multinacionales lo que les interesa es el recurso natural, les interesa es una mano de obra supremamente barata que profundiza la dependencia, profundiza la pobreza, profundiza la no democracia.
A strong labor movement is an obstacle for neoliberal policies that seek to entice corporate interests to Colombia. Efforts to weaken unions and other labor protections have made Colombia one of the most dangerous countries in the world for trade unionists. U.S. civil society and some members of Congress were rightly concerned with the implications of strengthening an economic relationship with Colombia before the precarious situation of human rights was addressed. And because of this pressure, the Labor Action Plan was signed by Presidents Obama and Santos in April 2011, with the stated goal of improving labor rights in Colombia before the implementation of the Free Trade Agreement. Among the issues the Labor Action Plan claims to address are violence and impunity, collective pacts, and third-party contracting. In spite of the creation of the Ministry of Labor and hiring labor inspectors, in 2012, 20 unionists were assassinated and 431 unionists received threats. Not only that, but violent displacement increased 83% in 2012, particularly in areas most affected by the new FTA like the port city of Buenaventura. What's more, the perpetrators of 90% of unionist murders are never convicted. Juan Carlos Pérez Muñoz was a well-known organizer with the Sintra Negro Sugarcane Union, helping to organize for living wages and better working conditions in the La Cabaña and Maria Luisa sugar plantations. Both companies are located in Valle del Cauca, Colombia, the province with the highest rate of violence against union leaders, and both companies have histories of labor unrest and violations of indirect contracting laws. Pérez Muñoz was especially active in organizing actions protesting the mass illegal firings of workers, including of Sintra Negro union leadership in December 2012, and had intervened in an argument between a company supervisor and a union member who was trying to publicize a union meeting. Pérez Muñoz insisted the worker had the right to give out flyers about the meeting, an action that may have cost him his life. On January 28, 2013, he was gunned down by 2 assassins while waiting for his bus to work, leaving behind a wife and 2 children. In an illustration of the 90% impunity rate for unionist murders, no suspects were ever named or apprehended.
Los que actualmente están, no podemos siquiera
pasar más de las 7 de la noche en la calle, no estar, no dicho, nos tienen restringidos. Obviamente a los organismos internacionales nos brinden protección, nos brinden esa confianza, esa seguridad de que nosotros podemos seguir en estas labores y que nuestras vidas no vayan a correr el peligro que siempre ha venido corriendo el sindicalista aquí en Colombia.
Collective pacts are a company agreement that workers are pressured to sign in order to prevent them from joining legitimate unions. The Labor Action Plan requires the Colombian government to introduce a provision stating that it is a crime, subject to imprisonment, to use collective pacts to undermine the right to organize and bargain collectively by extending better conditions to non-union workers in such pacts. However, the Labor Action Plan fell short of requiring the Colombian government to heed ILO recommendations to ban collective pacts entirely. There has not been any action taken to date against collective pacts, and many workers continue to be forced to sign such agreements, such is the case of General Motors, who this year signed its 6th pact with workers.
La razón de llegar aquí a la embajada, iniciar esta huelga, este plantón, ha sido denunciar los atropellos precisamente que se comete dentro de General Motors con los trabajadores, en denunciar precisamente este pacto colectivo que no representa los beneficios de los trabajadores. Este año se firmó en la empresa el 5º pacto colectivo. Es un pacto que cubre más del 95% de los trabajadores de General Motors. Es un pacto patronal, o sea, las directrices y todos los convenios que están dentro del pacto son directamente las órdenes que envían los directivos de General Motors. Nosotros cuando ingresamos a General Motors se nos obliga a adherirnos directamente al pacto colectivo. Nos dicen expresamente que está prohibido ser parte del sindicato de General Motors. Ellos tienen un plan de acabar por completo con el sindicato. Es un pacto que lesiona verdaderamente los beneficios de los trabajadores. Es un pacto que afecta la libre decisión del trabajador de pertenecer o no a un sindicato. Sabemos que en el 2008-2009, en la crisis mundial automotriz, General Motors pasaba por una situación complicada, prácticamente en quiebra. Fue cuando el señor presidente de Estados Unidos, el señor Barack Obama, decidió salvar a General Motors, que es una empresa ícono norteamericana, una ensambladora pues con toda la trayectoria que lleva más de 100 años de trabajo. Pasando a ser así accionista, el propio gobierno norteamericano, accionista mayoritario de GM. En ese entonces sabíamos que tenían más del 60% de las acciones. Esa es la razón fundamental por la que nosotros estamos acá, porque no creemos que sea posible que el pueblo norteamericano, a través de sus impuestos, hayan salvado esta empresa de la quiebra, hayan pues podido reinvertir capital para sacarla adelante, y pues que permitan estos atropellos en países tercermundistas o subdesarrollados o en pleno desarrollo como el nuestro.
None of the collective pacts or what they call union contracts, which is subcontracting to a false union, none of those cases have been investigated. Those are all promises that were made. They're all essential in order to guarantee freedom of association, and there has been no progress on any of that.
The Labor Action Plan requires the Colombian government to clarify Article 63 of Law 1429, which prohibits third-party contracting, specifically stating that the misuse of any kind of relationship that affects labor rights will result in significant fines for violations. The result was Decree 2025 of 2011, which banned associated labor cooperatives as a form of third-party contracting, but neglected to address other forms of labor intermediation and indirect contracting. Third-party contracting results in lower wages for workers, no benefits like pensions or overtime, and precarious working conditions. To date, there have been 175 citations for illegal third-party contracting at an average of 7 million Colombian pesos, or about $3,600 US per fine.
One of the major issues, one of the major points in the Labor Action Plan was to formalize work. And that was basically eliminating all the fraudulent subcontracting that is so prevalent here. If you don't formalize labor relations, then you can't guarantee the freedom of association and therefore collective bargaining, which will improve labor conditions. The two cases that are most relevant are in the ports and in the palm sector. In those cases where workers struck, forced the government to actually come and apply the laws, that is, sanction companies for subcontracting. We only have 13 real cases in the country. Both governments, our government and the Colombian government, will say there's more cases, but the only cases that really matter are when companies or real employers that subcontract work are sanctioned, and there's 13 cases in the country. 10 of those are in the palm sector in Magdalena Medio. There hasn't been one worker formalized as a result of those sanctions, and there hasn't been one fine actually charged. Meanwhile, at least 500 workers of the 5,000 that struck have had to leave the zone because of persecution and violence and blacklisting. In the port sector, there has been about 150 workers formalized, but they weren't, most of them were not actually the workers that protested. So the company hired other workers to fill those formalized positions. So, basically weakening the union.
Para empezar, estamos en el puerto de Buenaventura, primer puerto sobre el litoral pacífico colombiano, y es el puerto de mayor envergadura en Colombia. En Buenaventura es un puerto donde entra demasiado dinero, entra mucha riqueza, pero esa riqueza no se queda en Buenaventura, esa riqueza se va al exterior y se queda en el centro del país. Para que este acuerdo se llevara a cabo, hubieron unos tratados que el gobierno ha incumplido, que dice que todos los trabajadores, hombres y mujeres, deben de ser contratados directamente, al contrario de que hayan disminuido la tercerización laboral, han aumentado. Lo que estas compañías han comenzado a hacer es a cambiar de razón social o a cambiar de nombre. Si antes se llamaban X, ahora se llaman Z.
Ya, en Colombia, donde hay más tercerización, es donde hay más trabajadores afros. Y en esas empresas donde hay trabajadores afros que están tercerizados, son empresas muy fuertes económicamente, con toda la solidez económica y además todas vinculadas al comercio exterior colombiano.
Soy trabajadora portuaria, pertenezco al sector de Tarja, Talimán. Allí hay personas que trabajan directamente con la sociedad portuaria y se ganan 1.500.000, 1.700.000. Mi hija está terciarizada por ocupar, mi hija se gana solamente 700. Haciendo el mismo trabajo y trasnochándose lo mismo que los otros y haciendo el trabajo igual y exigiéndole igual que le exijan a todo el mundo.
Aquí en Buenaventura hay trabajadores que mensualmente se ganan menos de $25 al mes, menos de $25.
Y regresamos a una esclavitud moderna, como le decimos nosotros, ya no con los grilletes, pero pues es peor, porque no como celebrando el tema de la esclavitud, pero al menos anteriormente los esclavos tenían el derecho a la alimentación, pero hoy en día que se cuenta con la dichosa libertad entre comillas, nosotros, muchos trabajadores que están en los recintos portuarios, no llegan a un salario mínimo, sino que se ganan algunos 90.000 pesos, que vienen siendo como $45, 90.000 pesos al mes, y con eso ¿qué familia puede sostener?
Right now, if we accept the results of the Labor Action Plan as they have played out to date, we're accepting the diminishing of rights. We're accepting false promises and we're accepting formalities and not real protections. And I think that's something that the U.S. labor movement doesn't want to do. If we allow this labor action plan to be just symbolic, which is what it is now, and it doesn't actually translate to real benefits and real protections for workers, to really protect their right to organize and bargain better conditions and protect themselves. And basically what we're doing is we're setting up an example for future trade relationships that we negotiate. Some we're negotiating right now, in which the U.S. workers are going to have to compete with workers who do not have rights. At some point, that competition will necessitate that U.S. workers are going to have less rights. In order to compete with workers with no rights, we need to give away our rights. So we have both a moral imperative and a practical reason to continue to push and insist that the few advances that were done here in a formal sense in the laws are actually applied and translate in real benefits and real security and real protection for worker rights in this country.
This is a very important link with Latin America, and we want to strengthen it even more.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.